So we're back with another episode where we actually get to watch things that are happening in theaters because Vivan has grown up. So, um, yeah, so we're gonna talk about two movies out of all the movies that we've seen in theaters recently, and then just go through them and see what we feel about them, and you know, just have a general discussion.
Yeah,
So which one do you want to start with? You want to start with
Tourist Family.
Okay, we'll start with Tourist Family. So we watched Tourist Family. Honestly, like we had just watched Retro, so Hemu was really mad and pissed. He was like, "I'm never watching an Indian film again."
I'm like that every once in a while.
You're like that all the time. and then we watched Tourist Family, and he flipped upside down.
Yeah.
His life got flipped turned upside down.
Gotta give it to them. It was a great movie.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, basically Tourist Family is about this family from Sri Lanka that there was like an economic crisis in Sri Lanka like a while ago, right? So I guess one of our hosts left us. Following the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, this family decides to leave and they try to immigrate to India, but obviously we don't accept I think you can't seek asylum from Sri Lanka, so they do it illegally, and they're just trying to connect with all of their neighbors and like how they're like disconnected, but because this family is so nice and kind to them, it slowly like brings the whole like neighborhood together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the plot of this movie. There's like some more elements to it, but I don't want to spoil a lot of the parts of this film to you guys, so you guys should just go watch it. So what do you think about this film?
So I really enjoyed this film. Yeah, I had the usual fears of Indian movies that they're gonna overdo something, or there's a plot line that doesn't really, kind of detracts from the main plot. All those fears were there, but all those fears went away as the movie went on. I think it was a very wholesome movie. I mean, it also kind of taught you the actual struggles of a family like this, right? I'm sure this is the reality for many people, escaping the harsh regime in Sri Lanka and finding asylum in India. So I think it was heartwarming to see how they are, and also it's interesting to. I mean, I guess I already knew it, but it's interesting to see that they're just people after all, and they're just doing the same thing we're doing. They're just trying to live among us. It's fine.
Just trying to struggle. It's like just the struggles.
Yeah, it was a nice movie.
Yeah, I get that. I think for me, like one of the things that I wanted to keep in mind, after I watched the film, I realized, but this is like the directorial debut for like the director.
Oh.
So it's like Abhishan Jeevinth's like first movie. Oh. So for that, I think that does a really good job. I still think that there were like some parts that were a little bit unnecessary, but like I kind of expect that someone who's just gotten into this craft is not like full swing, knows exactly what to do perfectly. Mm-hmm. So for that, I think this is a great great film. The guy from Abhishan was in this movie. He played Nitushan.
Oh yeah. He was good here too.
Yeah, he's generally a good actor. He was good in that movie too.
He took some time to come into his role in this movie, and for a while I remember both of us were like, why is he here? What is he doing?
So useless.
And then he cemented his role, I think, closer to the second half.
Yeah, the second half is where his like part really thing. I think one of the things for me that like I was kind of like sick of these like pan-India movies that all these films are trying to do, like they're just trying to cater to everyone in India, and I feel like this issue is more like there's a lot more like Tamil specific things that I guess I can understand how that may not be like the best for someone who's like you were watching it in subtitles, so maybe it wasn't as good because of those things. But for me, I like those aspects that kind of make it more regional than just trying to like pander to like such a large crowd that you kind of lose like those elements of. Well, I guess Vivan disagrees with me. So, but I think that they're like that personality kind of comes in if supposing they have more like people that are specific.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I agree with you because sometimes we're watching a regional movie and I'm reading the subtitles, and I can tell that I'm sure this wasn't the intention of what they were trying to say. So I mean, sometimes the meaning's lost on me, but I think it's not a bad idea to try and convert all these little movie industries into the Indian movie industry. Uh, by making pan-India films. I'm not opposed to the idea, to be honest.
I think I want a good mix of both, because I feel like obviously pan India movies are good. Like there's nothing wrong with making a film that works for everyone. I think what bothers me is that they only make movies that work for everyone. Like
Yeah.
it's like I don't think even in like a generic movie industry like Hollywood, right? They don't make movies for everybody. Like all of their films are not specific to everyone. There's plenty of movies. Like for instance, I think Sinners, even if we connect to it on like a lot of emotional levels, it probably hits closer to home for people who actually kind of lived through like the post Civil War era of like still when there was like a lot more racism and issues in general. Like I'm not saying that those issues don't exist today, but obviously they were far more prevalent when we had just gotten off this idea that things are supposed to not be meant to keep together between black and white people, right? Like that's just like something that kind of like you can't necessarily relate to it, but I'm sure there's people in those communities that can relate to it a lot more. So for me, it's kind of like that, where I'm like, yeah, I can understand and appreciate a film like Jailer that's very pan-India, very generic to its like population, but also like small little things that work only for a Tamil crowd is also nice to like appreciate, like something that only works for a Malayalam crowd, where you can empathize with it. But obviously, somebody who is from Kerala is probably going to relate to something in a Malayalam movie more than you are,
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I guess making only pan-Indian films would make them all sort of muted.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe pan-India films, a large part of the motivation is financial, because obviously you're appealing to more people. But yeah,
I'm sure for like a bigger budget, it makes more sense to go more that direction. So I like that this movie is kind of like a small drama, so it didn't have like a lot of like, I don't think there was like anything very big budget in this film. There was no like CGI or anything, so they didn't need to like bring in a VFX department. Everything took place in this neighborhood, so they kind of had that. There was like a little bit that took place in like Rameshwaram, of course, when they were first, like the first few scenes, but for the most part everything was pretty much contained within like these like few areas. So it was like that way kind of a minimalist movie. I like that they kind of went that route too. Like it's like you want this ballooning budget for something like this,
Also, being that it's his directorial debut, you don't want to get too flashy and try things you aren't, may not be comfortable with.
Right.
So keeping it simple in terms of the setting and then focusing on the plot and how the movie progresses seems like a smart thing to do.
Right. I think one of the other things for me that I liked in this film was that it was not like one of those movies where we were just like, oh, it's the interval, but we don't know what's gonna happen. Like, why is the rest of a movie? We actually did have like a lot of questions at the interval where we were like, what is Nitushan doing? Or, like how they're gonna like resolve the issue. So I'm gonna spoil a little bit, but basically these guys, they immigrate, like they're illegal immigrants, right? So they get caught by the border patrol, but the border patrol lets them go because they're just this normal family. But what happens is that like right after they go back, they end up. I think Vivan wants to sit up. I don't know what he wants. We were talking about the interval. So I think like this movie, unlike a lot of movies, we were like, oh, okay, there's actually plot points that need to happen after the interval instead of we just being like, the movie's over, what more needs to be said. Like the subplot where basically these people are illegal immigrants, right? So they right after they come, the border patrol takes pity on them because they just seem like a regular family that's trying to escape a bad situation. But like right after they leave, a bomb blast happens. So they're like, well, oopsie, we might have accidentally left like a terrorist family into this country. There was like that part was never resolved. So we were like, oh, okay, so we actually want to see what happens in the second half. And I think they also did a good job of like answering any questions we had in the movie, right? Like I don't feel like there was like anything that was super unanswered. Like we were wondering what happened with that. We were wondering what happened with, like like there was a bunch of subplots. We were wondering what would happen with like the whole them figuring out that they're Sri Lankan immigrants. So we're like, oh shoot, I guess the neighbors might try to give them away because obviously they're illegal immigrants. But nobody did it, and even the police officer didn't do anything, which is nice.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Did the director also do the writing?
I actually don't know.
I'd be really pleasantly surprised if that's the case.
He might have. We never know.
Because one of my favorite things about this movie was how they open up a little plot line or subplot line and then they tie it up like 5, 10, 15 minutes later
might have
in a
been
nice
him,
way.
because he is like... Let's see.
Written and directed.
Yeah, it's written and directed by him.
Wow, that's really nice to see because he wrote it perfectly. You know, he would start a subplot line, have it go on for 10-15 minutes. Just when I start to wonder, wait, what happened to this? Or why did this happen? And he ties the ends back.
Yeah,
It was
there's
really
no
nicely
loose
done.
ends there. But I think that also makes sense if it's written and directed by the same person. Because I
Yeah.
feel like then you know what mood you're setting for this particular plot line very well. It's not someone else's writing that you're trying to interpret.
Yeah. And also in hindsight, now that you mentioned that we had questions when the interval happened, right? One of our biggest questions was, what is Nitushan doing, right? And now that you mention it, I feel like if you were to step in the movie, that's what the parents were also wondering, because he wasn't really opening up, he wasn't communicating, so they had no idea what he was feeling either, right? And then after the interval, he kind of finally lost his cool this one time, opened up and
talked about his relationship
Yeah.
troubles, about his own personal struggles with finding a job and all of these things.
So that was nicely done.
Yeah, I agree.
Kind of made us feel exactly what the parents felt, right?
And like I said, for me, I like the Mithun Shankar, that's the guy who acted in his role. He was doing a good job. I was kind of like in the first movie also, he was one of those more deeply emotional people. In this, he kind of did more of the angry, deeply emotional person, but he does a good job of displaying those emotions in my opinion. He's just really
the bottled
nice.
up emotions, right?
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
good at that. Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know. It's on his face.
Yeah.
That I know he really wants to say something, but he
just doesn't want to because he's
Yeah.
not interested in these people, or he's just angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, I feel like this is a great effort for a directorial review, but I'm not gonna be one of those people who's just this is perfect movie, 10 out of 10. No, there's some aspects of this that are kind of messed up. So one of the subplots is that the way that they get away from the border patrol is by literally they find this dog on the beach that they land up in, and their youngest son, he goes, oh, I can just pretend this dog is ours and get some brownie points with the border patrol people. And they were like, cool, great. And then after that, somebody comes into their police station and says, hey, by the way, my dog is missing. Can you go find her? No, find him? And that's how they tie it back to them, because they have to find this dog too, right? So that's how they try to track them down with the dog. And I was like, okay, that's messed up. But the thing is that they stole a dog, and nobody takes the owner seriously. Even when he first comes in to file the complaint, everyone's mad at him for just being upset about his dog going, which is no.
Yeah, I think that plotline was pretty much my major gripe with this movie, and especially since the main family, right? They've been shown, all of them have been shown to be really pure of heart and noble, and then they do this one atrocious thing.
Yeah, it's unforgivable.
But yeah, I think that was my major problem.
Maybe that's why Vivan was so mad this whole time, because he was like, you guys are praising this movie, but it literally has a kidnapped dog in it.
Yeah. But luckily, even though I really dislike that part, it is just a subplot. So it's easy to ignore while not destroying the rest of the movie.
I agree, but it definitely took it down a notch for me, because I was just he didn't even get his dog at the end. He just kind of got, they were just villains in his storyline.
Yeah.
It makes me feel I feel like Shashi Kumar's character in this movie, the what's his name? Dharmadas, I think. Right? Yes, Dharmadas. Yeah. So like Dharmadas's character is like all like a really nice guy who like is very empathetic to all these people's situations, to the point where he's like actually really sweet and caring, and he literally gave up his entire life to like protect his family. All of those things are like really nice, but yeah, this one thing is just kind of like he also throws out the dog on the street.
Yeah.
Which is like, no, again, like it's a little like Shih Tzu or something. It's not surviving.
Yeah, it's really...
Get mauled.
Yeah.
That part's messed up.
Yeah, they messed around with the dog 2 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
They stole it in the first place, and then they abandoned it. And they didn't even address the fact that they abandoned it. He just, oh, the dog's back. Let's go. Like, what?
How did the dog come back at all is like surprising to me, because
Yeah.
I feel like personally there's no way that little Shih Tzu could have survived on the street.
Yeah. I think the writer/director is great at many things, but writing about dogs is
needs to learn how pets work.
Yeah.
I get that. And then like the other plot line that I didn't really like in this movie was there was this plot line about this guy who was basically like struggling with losing his mother to like some kind of like mental, like basically like she was like, her brain was like malfunctioning, like dementia, Alzheimer's, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it definitely was like something where her brain was starting to like go out, and obviously she passed away because of it. And he copes with it using alcoholism, but like the whole thing is like he's like literally like a raging alcoholic, to the point where neighbors constantly complain about him like vomiting on their doorstep, or like breaking beer bottles in front of their house.
Yeah.
And for some reason there's this giant plot line about him saying, you guys all know who I am and you hate me, but you never asked why I'm like this. And it's like, yeah, sure, that sucks, and maybe it's like sad that nobody bothered like even saying one thing about like your parents. They didn't even know your mom, even though she was like somebody who lived here for so long. But like you vomited on people's doorsteps. Yeah. It's like I think they're very justifiably upset with you. I don't feel like that's something anybody is obligated to like help you out with. Alcoholism is a serious illness, and I completely understand that. Like obviously he needed some help, he needed an intervention, but like they're not obligated to help you if you're just causing a ruckus. Like I'd just call the cops on him and be done with it,
Yeah. I think the core of the message was good, which was pretty much, you should reach out and see how people are doing. But the way they presented it to us felt like because the message is so good, therefore my poor actions such as vomiting or breaking bottles here and there is justified.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And there's like kids and stuff in this neighborhood, right? Like what if somebody had stepped on the glass? That's like not a joke. Yeah. It's not haha funny. It's like really messed up. You're injuring people.
Yeah, they should have shown it in a way that he implored them to reach out, but he was also extremely apologetic of his terrible behavior.
I mean, even then I wouldn't fully justify it. I still think that like at the point where you're like a raging alcoholic, like at that point it's more you should just be arrested for drunken disorder. I don't really have that much sympathy for him. Yeah. I feel like I can understand people feeling bad about like, the way they behaved maybe, but I still don't think that his actions in any regards are like justified. Like it's kind of the same problem with the dog, where it's like but you're kind of the problem here. Like I can't justify your actions.
Yeah.
You don't really deserve to be rewarded for this.
I think there was a much better way he could have done that.
Right.
Yeah.
But like for me in general, I'm not gonna pretend that this movie is like bad. This movie is great. This movie is really good. There's some aspects that could have been removed, but like again, I'm not gonna take this entire film down a notch because of like small mistakes that this directorial debut made. Like for me, overall, if this is how you're debuting, then you're gonna do a good job.
Yeah.
With
films. It's a really impressive movie for a debut.
And it's written and directed by him too, so he's got a career in both. For me, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody asked me, I would recommend.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right, so it's a 10 on my binary scale of 0 and 10. So.
It's a 10. I think it's like a solid 8 out of 10 movie for me. Okay, alright, are we ready for the next part of this movie, which is Hemu's favorite series of all time, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
This was like I think it's up there as one of the best movies of the year for me. I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. I mean, who isn't? Uh, this was like this was a culmination of what,
8 movies.
8 movies, eight, yeah, maybe,
This
yes.
is the 8th movie, I think.
This is the 8th movie,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and either way, it's almost like 30 years in the making, right? The
Yeah,
whole
90,
series.
what, 6 or
Six, I
something, the
think.
first one came out? Yeah.
When I was born, imagine. So yeah, this was an amazing movie. Obviously, the stunts were amazing as always with Tom Cruise, and they, I think they did a great job tying up the plots of the older movies. At least, I know you're cringing a bit, but at least considering the fact which I learned recently from you was that they kind of film the stunts first and then try to stitch up the movie together.
So, such a backwards ass way of doing things, though.
Yeah.
But maybe you should tell people what the film is about before you.
Oh yeah.
Or you just go all fanboy mode.
So as we saw, so the movie starts from its prequel, right? The Dead Reckoning Part One. So what happened there was that there's this entity that the U.S. Transmitted to a Russian submarine, and so that it would override its masking mechanism and therefore reveal its location to the U.S. And what happened was that the entity went rogue and destroyed the submarine, and now the AI is kind of locked in there. Sorry, the source code of the AI that the US sent is locked in there in the sunken submarine. And the plot of the final movie is to go retrieve it and try to disable it because the Earth is on the brink of nuclear Armageddon.
We are back. I just wanted to let Vivan in because now that there is no more dog abuse, he's
Yeah.
happy again. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rogue intelligence. Sorry.
Yeah, so now in Final Reckoning, that Ethan Hunt's task is to find the submarine, retrieve the source code, and use this malware that Luther wrote to destroy this AI. And uh, the reason it's so urgent is because the AI is taking over the nuclear arsenals of all these countries one by one, and of course,
It's planning to destroy the whole world.
yeah, of course, once it gets access to everything, it's going to destroy the whole world.
Right. So I guess this was kind of a bittersweet movie for you.
Yeah. It's confirmed by Tom Cruise that this is the last movie in the installment. So, yeah, I mean, Mission Impossible movies have been enjoyable for me since forever, right? So yeah, this being the last movie is kind of sad because now you're not going to see Tom Cruise on the big screen as often.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. I think that's kind of a bummer. But I think that what you're saying about them like tying all loose ends seems a little bit kind of a no.
I mean, I'm biased. I agree.
Yes.
I mean, they tied like one thing. Okay, I'll take it back. They tied like a couple things. It wasn't really like the whole thing meshed together or anything. They just
I don't think
kind
these movies are very story driven. I just gotta go to the limb here and say that if supposing you're not writing scripts before you film stunts. You're just not a very story, which is nothing wrong. Like I said, I think that these films do a really good job of like showing good stunts. But I don't think anyone's out there going, "Oh yeah, I remember the rabbit's foot from the first one." No, nobody remembers that. They only remember him vaulting from the ceiling into a secret facility. That's what people remember from those movies.
But I'd like to. I mean, in my opinion, yeah, maybe the story isn't profound or anything, but it isn't terrible either. It's not a bad story.
They're doing the best they can with the restrictions they have from the stunt people
sure.
from Tom Cruise, which is
guess.
kind of like I guess you can't really do much beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how do you like the movie?
I think I liked the film. I really liked it. I think that again, like for me, like someone who's like 62, doing stunts where he's really like vaulting between planes is like super impressive. Where it's like, yeah, I can't believe that this guy is doing these things. And it's like, for me, I can understand why he's stepping away from this series, because if supposing he's 62, it's probably harder for him to make a lot of these, like movies because they're just like difficult for him to realistically kind of, you know, like continue to make with his age and all those other factors. But I think that like for all of those things considered, this film's absolutely amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I loved every stunt. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get to see like any like behind the scenes when they were like talking about this film. So maybe I have to go back and watch some of that stuff on YouTube. But that part was a little bit of a bummer. But like if I had to like pick probably one of my favorite action series, I think this one and John Wick are pretty much on the top for me. So love that aspect of this movie.
Yeah, and I think he's there's very few Hollywood actors or actors in general left who I could really call action heroes. I think Tom Cruise is one of the last action heroes.
I get that.
And like he does all his stunts, he has pilot license, he does so much, right? In John Wick, for example, Keanu Reeves took real firearm training. I think Will Smith's done it too for some of his movies.
Yeah.
All of these actors are action heroes in my opinion. I don't think most actors really, you know, do some kind of training.
No, a lot of them are like stunt doubles, which is why I like that. Which is why I like Fall Guy as well, right? Because that was like filmed by like an actual like the director is like an ex stuntman, so like he knows what it takes to like do all of these things, right? Which is kind of similar for this movie, but it's like obviously Tom Cruise is like he's got like a lot of good stunt work in his.
He doesn't even have a stunt double.
Yeah, he doesn't have a double, but I'm saying like this. So I said he's like the stunt man, so
yeah.
Which is like very nice to like see. And it's not just him, right? Like everyone else who's also in these films kind of has to like do a lot of like practical work.
Yeah.
They kind of bring an action choreographer in and like somebody who will teach you how to do these things yourself instead of having someone else take over all these scenes. Like you can see the effort that goes into like making these movies for me. Like I think that's the impressive aspect. That's why I don't agree with you about the whole story thing, because I think that first of all, this movie's climax has them with like a hard disk just vaulting on planes, which is like, yeah, if supposing that hard disk falls, it's smashing into a bazillion pieces.
No.
That is not how hard disks work. I'm sure if I drop this iPad, it's just gonna crumble.
I mean, I'm sure if I was the American government who's sending a potentially, well, they didn't know at the time that it's going to be sentient, so I'll say potentially sentient AI that can dominate the world. I'm going to make sure the hard disk is damn near indestructible.
You can say that, but that's not how they sent it. It's just that it was on the Russian network. It was on the AI was on a Russian network. They just the Russians found the source code and put it into like a little submarine vault.
Okay, yeah, true.
So nobody was anticipating it to be destructible. No, it was just on like a submarine. The submarine was probably. Also, one of the most unrealistic things about this movie is that he was able to just open the submarine doors underwater. It was like, if you understand how much water pressure is there at like 300 feet, how the hell is he just opening the submarine? You can't open doors in underwater.
I mean, I'm sure it's insane amounts of pressure, but maybe you can, right?
No, you can't. That's what I said. 300. You want me to Google this? Like how much like 300 feet, like how much pressure is there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Pressure in the ocean. They were more than 300 feet, right? Because the guy said that like they've done the testing for 300 feet.
Okay, pick a number.
But okay, I'll give 300 feet because that's the number I remember from the movie.
Okay.
Approximately 10 atmospheres. That's how much pressure is there at that depth. So now take that and consider it in a small like submarine vault location and think how much force someone would need to do to open it.
Yeah, I mean,
it
might be possible.
What? It literally says 10 atmospheres.
So what?
10 atmospheres, Hemu. That's so much pressure. Well, there we go. There you have it. That's why you can't open even an airplane door, because there's so much pressure from outside and versus inside. Like the cabin is so pressurized that you can't open the door.
I mean, yeah, but I thought it was mostly because it's locked and stuff, right?
No, even if you unlock it, you can't open the door.
No, wait. We can actually.
What? No, we cannot. We cannot open the door on a plane. If supposing the cabin is pressurized, which obviously the cabin has to be pressurized because otherwise you can't breathe.
We need to check this out. I don't believe
I'm
this.
sorry to be the bearer of bad news here, but you cannot just open a submarine door.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, okay, maybe. I'll let you have
And not
this
just
one.
that, like even if you accept that part, he literally got out of his diving suit and swam up in freezing 300 feet water.
Yeah, that's not good. That wasn't good.
He should have been crushed immediately.
Yeah. But I think all things considered, that submarine sequence was one of the best action sequences
Look,
I've ever
it's
seen in my life.
great. It's amazing. I find
awesome.
it was very anxiety driven, and I thought he was going to explode because there were literally missiles inside there.
Yeah.
Granted, in my head, I was just like, these missiles have been underwater since 2012, so probably not functional. But still, it doesn't mean one of them is functional, the whole thing is exploding.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay, maybe. I mean, he's Tom Cruise. He can open anything, you know.
I guess Ivan agrees with that statement. Because he came running back as soon as you said his name and praised him.
Yeah.
You've got a
One
fellow
knows
Tom
what's up.
Cruise. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe realism is not the strong suit for this series.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like overarching, I don't think that this is like probably one of the best send-offs they could have done for the series. Like they did a good job.
Yeah.
With everything considered. But yeah, I think that there's some. I just find it funny because you often criticize like Bollywood movies when they do the whole one man can do anything strength. But like there's a guy in this movie that's really like able to handle like 30 atmospheres of pressure with no problem, and you're like, oh, this is the best movie in the year.
No, that's not the same thing. See, the way Bollywood does it, okay. For example, in the opening fight sequence, right? You see Tom Cruise and I forget the name of the actress, but both of them were fighting
Haley
off these.
Atwell? Something.
Yeah, Haley Atwell.
Yeah.
Both these guys are fighting off 5-6 other, bad guys, and the moves they make, the fight choreography, it all seems real. It makes it seem like they're really, really skilled. I agree, but it still seems realistic. And if it was Salman Khan, he's just gonna give one punch, and the guy's gonna go flying 30 feet, and that's just not possible, no matter how trained you are. That's why I think the fight choreography in Indian movies is just so over the top sometimes. It's just not
So your
realistic.
problem is the action choreographers. Your problem is not with the actual action itself. Then
I mean, sometimes it is. But yeah, this was just one example.
I
think he could open the door. To be honest, I think he can open the door. We'll do the math. I'm sure it's gonna work out.
I'm gonna give an update on Twitter or something saying update. We did the math and it is in fact impossible.
Yeah, you can add a little overlay if you want. But I'm telling you, it's possible.
No, it isn't. It's there's no way. It's just impossible. I just don't. I don't believe that.
It's possible.
I don't believe all any.
And also, there's air inside the submarine, so that's pressurized, which is gonna counteract the atmosphere, the water force too.
Hemo, it's a submarine that's split in two. What are you talking about?
Then there was just air pockets inside.
Yeah.
I guess well, trust me, the math's gonna work out. We'll do this. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but he can open it.
No,
I promise you.
It's what I told you. It's just unrealistic stuff.
No.
Which, like I said, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. I just find it hypocritical when you suspend your disbelief for Tom Cruise but not Salman Khan.
No.
And I'm not saying that Salman Khan movies are good. There's definitely a lot of flaws with Salman Khan films, and they're obviously not anywhere close to Mission Impossible. But I still don't agree with your statement that if supposing one man can take everything like they do in this movie, or one man can do anything like in the Bad Boys thing, it's two men. But whatever, still, it's how do you accept that but not this?
See, when you single it out, maybe it sounds bizarre, but the thing is, when a Salman Khan movie starts, everything is unrealistic, so you get sick of it. And when a Mission Impossible movie starts, a lot of the things are realistic, and then he does something crazy, okay, whoa, that's movie magic. So you can let it slide sometimes.
I don't know. I'd actually make the argument that if everything is unrealistic, there's more willingness for me to think everything is just bizarre, and it's just a bizarre world.
No.
For me, if supposing things are realistic, I think a realistic action movie, neither, I don't think John Wick or Mission Impossible at all fall in that category. They're just very impressive action movies with like good stunts and like well choreographed action sequences with like innovative, honestly, like just it's just innovative in my head. Like these are things that people don't normally think of doing, and these movies do them and know how to shoot them very well. Like that's what these movies are for. They're not for believing that Tom Cruise can open a fucking submarine.
I think he could, man. And you see, even in you get since you spoke about John Wick, right? Even in John Wick 4, all the combat sequences are largely realistic. And then there's one scene where he falls out of the window on his back like 3 stories onto the roof of a car, and the car gets bent. So obviously his bones should have been shattered, but they are not. And he just gets up and he limps away, but he just still walks away. That's really unrealistic, right? Probably he must have cracked his spine.
They
if
did
it was
say
real
that
life.
his suit is supposed to be indestructible, right? Isn't that
So
the thing?
yeah, but like when these things happen, there's like one unrealistic thing in a sea of realism. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe.
I don't agree
fine,
with you. I don't think that John Wick is realistic at
I
all.
think
I
it
mean,
is.
dude, it's literally a universe where every single person, for some reason, is like an assassin, which is like, what the fuck? That's not a thing. That doesn't exist today.
But if it did though, it would be exactly like John
Yeah, but
Wick,
you see my point, right? It's like if it did, which is just not true. Like if it did, even if it did, 95% of people would be horrible assassins. So that's just not in real life at all gonna happen.
No.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but most people cannot handle a day in
Okay,
the mafia.
1 second. Let me clarify my definition of realistic. I don't mean that it's likely to happen. I just mean it's within the laws of physics. That's all.
I don't think it's within the laws of physics. I don't even think it's within the laws of realism. I think that these movies do a good job of maintaining that balance between over the top bullshit and like realistic dialogue. But for me, I think what these movies do way more impressively is just generally setting up these sequences in a way that's just taken very well. Like for me, I think that's the part that's impressive to me. Like thinking about how much time and effort it would have taken for them to like put these two different colored, beautifully colored, so that also helps, like it differentiates. Like idea of coming up with like a red and yellow airplane itself is like such an insane definite. By the way, guys, that's the final sequence in this. It's on the poster, so I don't think I'm really spoiling anything for anyone.
It's on the trailer too.
Yeah, but like them choosing to go for against this like very serene background with very bright planes is like a useful tactic, but not realistic. Ain't no way that a villain who's trying to escape is going to go in a giant red plane. That's so dumb. He's like visible. Anybody can shoot him down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just not realistic to me. But that's not the point of the film. The point of the film is that you have to be able to see those action sequences in like a well-lit place. So they choose these colors that are directly like your eyes are immediately attracted to them. And it works really well with the background because the background is so serene and like it's just full of livestock and just generally more trees and things like that. So like that's the parts that are impressive to me. Like it's similar to like that one sequence in John Wick 4 that we watched where there was like the guy was like sitting there and it was all taken like on a top shot, like as if it's like a video game. Like that's not realistic at all. That really looks like a video game. But it's impressive to see real people reenacting these sequences that you would normally only see in like a video game cutscene.
Yeah, I mean, but also, I mean, I agree with you. For example, the red plane, is it likely to happen? No, but that's why I clarified my stance on what's realistic. Is it likely for him to choose a red plane? No, but if he would, how would it happen? See, he wanted a really old plane, so the entity can't hack into it. There's only so many old planes. If all he had was a red plane, yeah, that's how it would happen. It's within the laws of physics,
He
right?
would repaint it, let's be clear.
Maybe it's not a smart decision, but
But he would repaint it with the amount of time that he had.
Would he? I mean,
Yes.
would you repaint a plane if you have all
Yes,
this
you
elaborate
would.
plan and all? Like,
Because
no,
you
it's-
wouldn't want to get shot down by the fucking US military because you don't know if the US military is going to be there. Chances are they are. And they did show up.
I mean, again, see, it may not be likely that he flies the red plane. Maybe it's the more likely that he paints it, right? Like you're saying, but it's still within the laws of physics. So it's
I
not
don't agree
over the
with
top.
that. Again,
It's
within
not-
the laws of physics, this movie literally had a guy coming up with an optical hard drive to put the entity in like a single spot. That's insane.
That's something you can't comment on. You can't say it's out of the realm of physics because that's something we haven't created yet.
I don't think
If
that's
we
within
were
the...
to,
Yes,
how would
you
know,
do
right?
have optical fibers, but that's not what that did. That was just insane. What they showed was a little glowing bulb.
I mean,
If this is how we make like something beyond like solid state drives, it would not be that way.
I don't know. See, I don't have a problem with sci-fi. Sci-fi is obviously out of the realm of physics, right? Because it's something we don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with sci-fi. I have a problem when you show something that we clearly know how it's supposed to work and it doesn't work. Like Salman Khan being a bodyguard who's a police officer and then he turns into Superman and punches the shit out of people.
Hey,
I'm
but
why
they
would
do
it work
that
like
in this movie too. You
No, they don't. People fall
What?
like a foot away from Tom Cruise when he
You
punches them.
have
They don't go
you
across
have
the
no
road.
right to say anything when this film literally has somebody at 300 feet in their underwear swimming up to the surface
Yeah, I agree
in
to that.
freezing cold water.
He should have been.
There is no excuse, and it's not just that. Like there's like other scenes where he like the lady literally got stabbed in the last movie. The French woman. With the blonde hair,
Yeah.
She literally got stabbed in the last movie, and was on like a plane a train that was cut in half, and somehow she made it out alive with like what she was bleeding out of her body. That's insane.
I mean,
Look, you can't say that
I don't think
things
it's
are within the
impossible, is what
realm
I'm
of
saying.
physics.
I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's that insane. to be
She's
honest.
dying. She's bleeding out. The train is in two pieces and about to fall off a cliff, and somehow this woman who is barely able to walk is able to get out of it unscathed. That's stupid. That's fucking stupid.
No, I mean, she had a lot of time to recover.
She was bleeding out. If anything, the more time you are bleeding out, the worse things
Yeah, so
get.
somebody,
No.
stop the bleeding later on. Look, I'm gonna defend Tom Cruise till I die. So.
Look, like I said, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with defending Tom Cruise. Like I said, for me, these movies are not built on realism. These movies are not built on people being like... Okay, so I accidentally spoiled the entire movie. So I'm just gonna cut this part out. Ignore the fact that things are jumpy, but didn't want people who haven't seen the film to know everything that happens in the movie. Realistically, like if you had to get rid of a rogue AI in real life, like if supposing Skynet comes to reality, right?
Mhm.
The way to do it would not be to go find its source code and blow shit up. Like that's not
Why not?
that's not the solution. The solution would instead be to somehow shut down the AI's like server base. Like if they just switched off the internet, it's over.
I mean, yeah, sure, but also this is another way. You don't need the source code to design the malware, right?
You don't need the source code to design the malware, but I don't understand what malware would stop something that's literally intelligence. You see my point?
I don't know either, but that's because we don't have a sentient AI. But
I just find it...
Luther essentially saw how the AI interacts, how it replicates, how it does things, and then based on its behavior, it made the malware and then deployed the malware.
I don't know. I don't agree with... I also think that, again, like one of the biggest things in this movie is like cybersecurity is just in hell, I guess, because they were able to somehow use a physical port to input their malware into the podkova, which is stupid.
I mean,
Like I feel like
it's
rule
fine.
number one of like any cybersecurity that anyone has ever learned, like including even our piece of shit laptops. Okay, maybe that's not fair, but like our companies do a good job with like preventing people from like putting like physical like stuff into... You can't insert a USB drive into your laptop because they physically block a lot of those ports because you can't take information out
Yeah,
from
but
the
it's
machine.
protected by a cruciform key, so I think that part's solved, right? Once you have the
But
cruciform
like,
key,
even
yeah,
if you have the cruciform key, I feel like rule number one is never let anybody insert like data or anything without like directly into your server. Like that's like
no, it's
rule
the same
number
as
one.
all ports being disabled on your iPad, and once you enter a code or have face recognition, then they're unlocked. What's wrong with that?
No, I don't agree with that because again, like this is like, what if one person just decides to get the access to it? Like the whole point, that's exactly why we have an administration, right? Like when you write code and inject it into your fucking server, it's not just hey, I have this ability to like force push it into production. No, there's like rules and regulations that take time to like release for that reason, because even if supposing you physically write the code and input it into the server, they still have like people go through it, do checks and balances before like
so the
pushing it
checks
into
and
production.
balances, that's
the
the cruciform key.
the cruciform key is barely a check and balance, because again, one person can have access to that. That's the whole point. It's not supposed to be that way. It should be two people at the very least.
It is two people.
If they connect the keys and open it, then it's one
Yeah,
person.
but the keys, separate people at the
So
key.
what if supposing one person gets access to both keys? That's the
That-
whole point.
That's-
It's what I said, like even something as simple as a PR for our jobs literally require one user and then a second
yeah,
user.
same thing. You need one user and a second user, and then
With
once
both
you
with
have
separate
the
passwords,
PR approval, one user clicks the
separate
merge button.
passwords, separate passwords, and not just that. Even then, the build is someone else. Like all of these aspects are
No,
still.
everything else is automated. At least
But again, it's
where I
still
work.
check, right? Like with the automation. That's
Okay,
what I'm
yeah.
trying to say. There's like so many aspects of this that are
I think
just
they
gone.
did a great job. Cybersecurity, 10 out of 10.
No, hey, whoa.
The cruciform key is the cybersecurity.
This is just, like I said, I can pick this movie apart. I don't want to. You're making me pick it apart by being an asshole.
Okay.
Like, I just don't understand how this is different from that stupid Bade Miyan Chote Miyan movie
Whoa!
where they made clones out of magic, and you disagreed with that entire concept just because. But like, if supposing they have sci-fi in their world and they can make clones, why the fuck not? How is that fair? But this is not fair.
No, I mean, I don't even want to hear Bade Miyan Chote Miyan and Final
Look,
Reckoning in
again,
the same sentence.
I'm not defending. That's what I said. I want to be very clear. I don't think that Bade Miyan Chote Miyan is a good movie. I don't think that like Salar is a good movie. None of these are good movies. That is 100% acceptable. This is a great film. All of that is not my point. My point is you can't defend storyline in Final Reckoning and then say this and the same breath go around and say the same bullshit against like other movies.
No.
Because the reason why Bade Miyan Chote Miyan is bad is because, like, at a fundamental level, Ethan Hunt is a way more relatable character, yes, but also Ethan Hunt is like, the people behind making Ethan Hunt are more interested in you saying, whoa, cool, he jumped off a cliff, or saying, whoa, cool, he got on the tallest like building in the world and stood there without any harness or anything. Like, that's the part, that's the whoa, cool factor, which is not there in these Indian movies. So I can understand that part where it's like, yeah, it's just some guy doing stunts for Salman Khan, which is not as impressive, and a lot of times nowadays they just use CGI to like push shit in, so that's just kind of lame. Like, I can understand that. But and
Look,
even then, like, even if you ignore all of that and say, well, Marvel I like more, well, at least Marvel has interesting action choreography. Like, I can forgive a Marvel movie, it has interesting action choreography. It's similar to like a Bollywood movie for me. But all of these films don't have strong storylines. All of them are weak. All of them you can pick apart by just saying things. Like, I don't understand this at all.
Look, you can pick apart anything. I'm just saying, yes, this movie also has flaws. For example, as you said, he was floating up in like Arctic water, right? Yeah, probably hypothermia should have set in and he doesn't make it. I agree. There are unrealistic things, but I think when I look at this movie collectively, top level view, I still think, all things considered, if something like this were to happen, it would happen like it's in the movie. I think it is more realistic overall compared to some other movies.
We're never gonna agree on this.
Yeah,
point.
we're not. I think all things considered, for me, it is more realistic than these Indian movies, right? So
I think you are
I think
biased.
I think the proportion of realism to not realism is higher.
I think
That's
the
what I'm gonna say.
proportion of ingenuity is higher in this film than that's what I think. I think that's what sets it apart for me. It's the ingenuity and the planning and the effort and the fact that they put all these actors through like real ordeals and like take the time to actually teach them the stunts, make them recreate these things in like a high stakes environment. Obviously there's still like safety protocols and all, but I think that the fact that they actually do all of that in real life instead of just doing it in front of a green screen, and even if they do it in front of a green screen, a lot of times like the action sequences have like a good idea of like, okay, so this set design is going to be placed here, and like the cameraman knows exactly what angle to do it so it's flattering and looks good, and they take time in post as well to make sure that like these these sequences, you can very clearly see like the effort and time it takes to like set these giant set pieces together, you know, like that's the part that's like insane to me in these movies, and that's what makes me love them so much. Like I have like the highest respect for someone like Tom Cruise, because he doesn't just like say, okay, I know I can just make like $1 million with like a stupid movie, and get away with it. Like that's not what he wants to do. He wants to show the scale of, like, you know, his ideas, and that is what like is insane to me in these movies. That's what sets it apart from, say, like even like a standard Rajnikant film for me, because a lot of them are just kind of like, yes, we can do these action sequences and have Rajnikant say some dialogue, and then we just smash it together in post and make a movie. Like that's not what these movies are for me.
Yeah, I mean, I largely agree with you. There's like respect for the craft in these movies. I just want to add a small thing. It's not just the big action scenes, like, you know, Tom Cruise hanging off an aircraft or jumping off a cliff. Even the small scenes, there's respect for the craft. For example, I remember that scene where Simon's putting on a mask and Tom Cruise is behind him, and then they swivel the camera onto the mirror, and there's Tom Cruise standing there and the new guy, and it's real. In reality, it's not a mirror at all. It's just Tom Cruise is there. There's a Tom Cruise double here to show the arm on Simon's shoulder, and there's another actor sitting just like Simon, and there's a lady. I think it's Haley Atwell, right?
No, I don't think that was Haley Atwell. I think it was someone else.
But there's a lady who's standing on one side of the mirror, and then a double standing on the other side of the mirror, just to show like her reflection. So even such a small scene confined indoors, there's still refusal to use CGI when they can do it without it, right? So it's respectable.
That's the part. Like I think the VFX and special effects in these films are just phenomenal to me. And they, like I said, even small decisions, right? Like choosing the color of the craft, like that's just such a small decision, but it's so eye catching, and you can like really see the peril because you're able to like view those things very clearly. You view those planes very clearly in a positive light for me. So like those are the things that make this film stand apart. Like it's like little decisions that you would think don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but they put that thought process into it, you know, like that's very like I feel like they don't treat their audience like idiots, you know. They're just like, oh, we'll just shamble together something that's like jangling keys in front of a baby. That's not what they do.
Yeah, that's true. They don't want to give us, you know, something shoddy or half-assed.
Right.
They make sure we get a good product, and that's what Tom Cruise talks about before his movies begin, right? He's like, you know, this is what we did. Here's all these stunts we did. I hope you appreciate it. So he cares about that appreciation, not just the ticket money, right?
Exactly.
So, which is nice to see.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my 2 cents.
I mean, I largely agree with you, but yeah.
Vivan fell asleep from that. He was just mad. He was just like, this is so boring. This is the worst episode.
But yeah, I think it was a good conclusion to a nice series overall. So.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
10 out of 10 again.
I agree. I'm very bittersweet with this ending too. I know you're a way bigger Mission Impossible fan than I am, but still. Yeah. Anyway, I think that concludes these 2 movies. I think we rambled on for a lot of parts. I'm gonna have to actually edit this podcast, unlike the other ones.
Yeah.
But still. Do you have any special mentions you want to add, like something that you would still recommend, just a general recommendation before we sign off, or
like a movie recommendation? What's Red Guardian in Thunderbolts?
he's your guy.
Yeah, I think that was one of the funniest performances I've seen in a long time, and Marvel's going only downhill in my opinion, so this was a breath of fresh air. Definitely watch.
We have said that, but I feel like we go back and forth. Like you like Deadpool and Wolverine, and you hated Captain America, and now you like Thunderbolts.
I don't count Deadpool because Deadpool's Ryan Reynolds vision. It's not the general Marvel Studios slop, right? So
I mean, they did when they did have that interview with Ryan Reynolds where he said that Disney let him have a lot of creative control, except for like some scenes where they obviously cut things down a little bit just because it might ruin like Disney's
Yeah.
image. But
Deadpool's, it doesn't seem like all the other Marvel movies. It's always Ryan Reynolds' humor and his
I
vision.
guess
it's
I
not
don't
the
know. I
same.
don't agree with that because I think that in general, like even then though, like you liked a bunch of movies, like you like the Spider-Verse film. So like I don't feel
Was
like
that Marvel?
I mean it's
was it-
Sony, but still Marvel.
Oh. I mean, that was animated. That was
Yeah.
different. But yeah, I like
I
that.
don't know. I don't agree with you. I think that it's just kind of been hit or miss for us in
Maybe,
terms
yeah,
of
maybe.
movies. They're obviously not as bad as DC. DC is just terrible, but except for
I like
Batman. Batman was good.
But yeah, I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. We watched it, I think, just before Tourist Family.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a nice movie. Enjoyed it.
Oh, okay, so that's your recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think that's the end of this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and check out Vivan's streams. Vivan's streaming.
What?
Check out his streams on Twitch.
Twitch.tv/RoyTTV
I'll put it.
with 2 Y's.
I'll put it on the
Alright.
screen. So you
And
can-
also, since I've seen this asked a lot on Reddit, yes, the Final Reckoning is Dead Reckoning Part 2. That's what it was originally called, which is why they released Dead Reckoning Part 1. And then they just renamed it to the Final Reckoning. So everyone's like, oh, where's Part 2? This is Part 2. So
Okay.
there you
All right. Well, there we have it. We have the Tom Cruise expert. Be sure to go and ask him Tom Cruise questions on his streams.
go. Heck yeah.
All right. We'll see you all later now. Bye. Oh, like and subscribe.